the top right-hand side, we're going to begin things with our blue Terran player from Onside Gaming. This is Maru. He is going to be taking on the red Terran, the man who stripped him of the World Championship. It is Oliveira. It is just funny that this is always going to be one of those matches nowadays where we're like, oh my god, Maru should have been a world champion, but then he got Oliveira. It's still, I'm sure we've said this 100 times now, somewhat unbelievable what truly went down across that weekend in Katowice. Something absolutely bonkers, if I do say so myself. Oh, let's find an observer. Who are we going to watch today? My goodness. Do we have any of the WTL obs in here? I don't know who the WTL obs... Maybe a Crank. Let's go for Crank. We'll see how Crank's obs in is. We might just have to obs ourselves today. None of my usual faves to follow are in the lobby. Yeah, maybe we'll have to just, like I say, mix it up a little bit, but that's okay as we do just get underway. Nothing too wild happening. First few moments, nobody's going to do anything as crazy as a proxy. It is going to be one gas from Maru, so a little bit more of a macro-focused opener. Maybe looking for that fast expansion here on Ancient System, which can be seen as a bit of a large map for sure, so don't hate the idea of a faster expand, but it's always going to be risky in TvT. Especially if you end up somehow losing out on your first Reaper. Now, we never really expect that to happen to Maru, but you know, TvT is volatile enough that it can happen, right? And that's why one racks or one gas expands are not necessarily the most kind of utilized thing. I'm actually going to go and put it on the high ground as Maru. I wonder if that's an adjustment because he gets scouted. Just says, yeah, high ground, wall off. And then it means that, of course, as well, Oliveira's vision, he doesn't actually see what's going on. So he's actually blind to this. He's not fully aware of what's going on. He doesn't know it's a fast expansion, and hence he may not play as aggressively, as daringly, etc., etc., etc. Reaper just on a little bit of a move then, obviously doesn't, again, you just don't know what's going on, so you don't really want to go across the map too aggressively. The last thing you want is to lose your Reaper, and then your opponent's doing a more aggressive build than you, and suddenly you just can't defend the early game even, and everything can fall apart so quickly from there in a TvT, so definitely trying to stay clear of that just a little bit. There's a couple of Reaper-y boys. Oh, yeah, don't attack each other, guys. I understand maybe getting a bit of target practice in, practicing getting rid of Reapers in general, because that's probably going to be your job, but not your own Reapers. Yeah, let's just stay clear of any friendly fire super early on in the game, shall we? Be kind of bad if we're not careful. Let's just have our CC still coming up. Cyclone is still producing as well. And just seeing our starboard on both sides of the map. So, just in general, right? I mean, Maru gets a slightly faster expansion. Orbital's going to be there a little bit soon. It's not the biggest of leads you've ever seen on an expansion, right? It's still pretty macro-oriented. From Oliveira, he didn't waste too long expanding himself. But it is just that slight edge to Maru. And I guess a little bit eyes on Oliveira to see if he can change something. Will make something happen here himself over these next few moments. I mean, we're talking about the kind of lead that's like a 1 and 2 SCV difference, right? It's not like, I say, the end of the world. Although, of course, some of the follow-ups and so on will be quite interesting. You see a Raven on one side, now a Banshee on the side of Oliveira. Obviously, Banshee's a fun one in TvT. You expect it to be used fairly aggressively a lot of the time, but the reality is as well that Banshee, not just aggressively, but even just defensively, sometimes can be nice. It doesn't have Cloak. I do wonder if we just get like a... I want to say like a Marine Tank, a little bit of like a Marine Tank Banshee push going. I think he might just build one Banshee and then probably go into a Raven. I'd be kind of shocked if we see Banshee 2 without having a... And there is the Raven. Without, you know, Cloak being on the way up, that really just would start to make no sense at all, so this makes a little bit more sense. 2 Hellions going up with the others. It's very Hellion heavy from Maru, by the way, so a lot of these Hellions kind of use that can sometimes do quite well diving in, but with the Banshee there, I just don't think there's enough of an opportunity, so I think we're going to have to stay a little bit clear of that for the moment yet. Our Raven is just going to be coming forward. Factory lifts off, moves over the side. Just going to be seeing our double racks, double engineering base both coming up. Raven, Stim Pack, all coming through. As again, Hellions and the Ravens gather up towards the top side. So got Ravens and Hellions just chilling out at the front. I'm just going to be seeing our 1-1 upgrades started on the side of Maru. A lot of barracks on the way from Oliveira, who's just getting set up there now. So starting to get a lot of this up and rolling. We've got ourselves a Stim Pack that is just now finishing up. That's going to be much faster for Maru on the Stim, even though he's very Raven Hellion heavy. He's got 1 extra Raven in the game still as well. Absolutely worth keeping that in mind, because obviously the spellcasting is going to be an important part of how some of these upcoming fights go. It always is going to be the case in TvT that Raven spellcasting plays a massive role. This game is obviously looking absolutely no different in that regard. And obviously having extra spellcasting then should only really aid you in that endeavor. So we'll see what happens. There's a few more Marines coming up. 1-1 upgrades, combat shield, stim. All of this continues through. Just going to drop a matrix down, auto turrets. Go after these tanks a little bit. Hellions, Marines, Cyclone coming forward, auto turrets going down. Siege tank gets matrixed. There's a lot of auto turrets as we chunk our way through this, and it's just a massive stim in from Maru, man. He is not chilling out at all. He's just going to straight up win the game off this little push across the map. I expect that to be so one-sided, I suppose. He just showed up and absolutely wrecked face. No looking back, as SCVs will go down as they get pulled into this, and that may allow you to hold. Knock a Raven out of the sky. There's a siege tank setting up, but the reality is you're holding with very little. You know, you've taken way too much damage. This is not a hold as much as it's like a delay of your kind of demise. Unfortunately, this is really just not going to be enough for Oliveira and Maru. And Onside Gaming look to keep the first place spot in the league today, of course, with a win. Will still remain out of reach of Basilisk, I believe. And there is the GG's. Maru takes game 1. It's a strong start for Onside. Definitely need it. But that's over, like, you know, one of the most active careers in SC2. Like, he's been playing everything for like 9 years or so. It's just so difficult to win tournaments in this game. Bottom right, up 1 in this best of 7 match for Onside Gaming. We've got Maru on the top left. Our blue Terran is going to be from Dragon Kaiser Gaming, Oliveira. Let's jump back on some camera work by Crank. I like Crank. Crank used to be one of my original steal the camera of people. He doesn't stream or cast everything nowadays, so I don't go to him as often, but today it's a throwback. Some Crank option. Now we're going to open with the 2 racks. It's actually a funny build with Maru and Oliveira, because there was a while where kind of Oliveira did this a lot against Maru. Saw some success with it a few years back. Whenever, and actually to be fair, whenever I think of like this, 1 racks in base and 1 racks on the map, I do think, you know, the couple times that I know a lot of people do this nowadays, but the players that really come to my mind with this build are, you know, an Oliveira or a Maru. It's always fun to see those guys kind of bringing out these kind of builds, so. SCV coming out down to the south. Orbital Command is coming up. A couple more Reapers on the way out. Orbital still coming through, as I mentioned. Nothing too crazy just yet. A couple of Reapers still coming in. Factory still coming through. Again, a few more moments. Just getting built up at the moment. Reaper in the center is going to grab an SCV, which is always a nice little start as well. So just take away some of that map control. Take away some of that chance of returning home to mine. As we do have a proxied factory, so Maru is just going all out. Proxy factories, building depots on the map. Obviously, when you're pulling the SCVs, it's like a fairly serious defense. It's one of those scenarios, right, where it's like, you're losing mine time. It's like, okay, but as long as I deal with these Reapers, I'm fine, right? But in this case, no, you're really not fine if you just deal with those Reapers. There's so much more to be done. Losing the SCV build the depot delays you a little bit, and these are all things that are extremely costly, as we've got 2 Hellions and a Hellion right now. A Reaper and 1 Hellion on the side of Oliveira. He has now got the reactor up, so he's going to begin benefiting from that. It's just taking a little while to truly get that fully in play. Reaper's Hellion chilling out on the high ground, just going to be seeing a couple extra Marines still coming up. I mean, the factory is done from Maru, and he's just straight up building Hellions off of this. Starport now proxied as well. Gonna start fighting over here, as Maru actually, though, is going to have a dive forward. The grenades have to be good from Oliveira to keep Maru back, and he does lose 1 unit there, so they were not quite good enough. Going to jump up over here and just going to be seeing our Reaper's going to hop up to the high ground again, as we are going to have Maru. Very Reaper heavy, is not going to be able to succeed here well enough. He can grenade the ramp if he needs to buy a bit more time from units chasing him. Attacks flow in a couple different directions. Then we do see our Viking, our siege tank all on the way up as well. Rax and the command center coming through. Maru just continuing to move around the top side. A couple of Reapers of Oliveira heading down to the bottom right as well. Maru just sits on the natural for the moment. Couple SCVs going down. Obviously, Maru is expanding, but all his structures were on the map, so kind of becomes a little bit weird to try. I mean, if you're gonna end up just backing away and going home, I mean, I understand you're maybe not doing much here, but can we really justify just starting to turn around and go back? We're going to lose a siege tank here. The Oliveira tank got in range, and just the vision was there. I mean, both the tanks get in range, actually, so Maru's just getting completely stopped. This proxy, all sorts of everything build is just not really going anywhere for him. Like I say, all of his production's on the map, so the moment he gets pushed away and access is given to that production, he is going to lose it, and he is just going to be in a world of trouble. Because Oliveira is just going to be able to bounce back. I don't think Maru's doing anything anywhere near significant enough to justify all this just yet. NCC finishes on location, sure, but Oliveira can float his down to the low ground. Not an orbital yet, but it's going to move down here. Both tanks get sieged up. Good grenades, as the Reapers will do a decent part of this. Just going to finish off this tank. Maybe, possibly, finally took a little while. Actually had a couple of... the second tank, I think, from Oliveira is actually stuck behind the first, so wasn't actually in range at any point. Otherwise, that would have been a little bit of an easier and more quick push out. Maybe would have lost a little bit else. Do we run a push up here as Oliveira? I mean, now you're pushing into a siege tank. Landed Vikings too, very good against those siege tanks of your own. I think you're right to try and stay away from it a little bit more, in fact, so can't complain too much there. Cyclone locks on. Tank takes some damage. The tank over here, it takes some hits. Oliveira's losing a lot. This little bit of aggression pushing out has cost him heavily. And now we need to ask ourselves if he can restabilize from this almost, as Maru killing a bunch of SCVs across the map. 4 SCVs have gone down. He kind of owns the natural of Oliveira, while his own expansion is now up and working as well. Is Maru truly turning this one around? This looked so... That just looked crap for him, didn't it? It just did not look good at all. He had nothing really going his way or anything. Couple Reapers around the side. Viking is going to get rid of the barracks. Zop up into the main base we go. As SCV goes down, we're going to have a second SCV going down as well. Viking landed, going after a couple of those Reapers. Vikings going to land a few more of these SCVs, continue to go down. 2, 3, 4. Workers being picked off. Marauder, Marines coming through. The couple of Reapers continue down to the bottom right as well as our Vikings continue to trade. Uh-oh. Here's a nice little counterattack, but it's going to cost you both the Vikings. And again, that's just expensive, right? That's a loss. You can't necessarily immediately afford to replace just straight away or anything, so... Not the prettiest to start still. I mean, it's just wild, because I really felt like Maru's build was doing absolutely nothing. I really will stand by, like, he was not achieving anything at all. But he was able to turn it around in the end, so... Vikings tank still coming through, just going to be seeing our CC coming up. The Vikings still setting up, just going to be seeing our tank sieging. It's going to be an SCV very nearly going down. More scans still coming into play. You see combat shield plus 1 attack coming up. Everything just retreating from Oliveira. He's going to fall back to the northern side of the map, so pulling all the way back home. Tanks, Marines, and a Marauder. As Maru now comes across himself. Up in workers, most notably, and in terms of upgrades, he's also very ahead, right? I mean, he's already got Stim. He's about to have combat shield and +1. His Stim finishes for Oliveira. One advantage, you know, shut out, the others opening still. So siege these tanks up, gonna get a couple shots off, and that first tank is just gonna go down outnumbered, so Oliveira already on the losing end of this trade, unfortunately. It's not looking pretty. The tanks still moving down the center, and we have Vikings still up in the skies. The Liberator Siege gets going, and the Marines do have to stand back a little further still. Vikings very nearly able to grab that medevac, but still not quite reaching over well enough. I mean, now Maru just sets up a pretty, well, pretty, I want to call it like a soft contain. Like, he's not immediately pressuring any, like, units or a building or anything. But he is stopping Oliveira from coming out of the ramp, right? He's stopping Oliveira from moving down the low ground. Now he's going to go a bit more aggressive towards this side. If he gets that tank, he could maybe get combat shield after. That's just going to further delay the, you know, the ability to really kind of play this game for Oliveira. His Marines are going to be even worse. He's just going to straight up cancel combat shield. As that barracks lifts, we don't even bother scanning again as Maru. He's very content to see the upgrade cancelled. So yeah, he's happy with that. He doesn't need to push it any further right now. And as he just takes his own third in location, I mean, you just talk about Oliveira, who just can't really get out of his natural. And there's going to be Libs attempting to do something over here. The missile turret will kill one. So we have 4 SCVs. We're still going to stop gas mining a little while. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad damage. It's just there could be so... You know, if you talk about damage that's going to bring you back in the game, that ain't going to turn this around, right? It's a start, but you need more. As Maru just says, yeah, I'm done with this. They drop into the main base as maybe Oliveira's a bit distracted elsewhere, still focusing heavily on the natural. Going to get rid of the +1 attack upgrade as well. Obviously, it's random which one of those you kind of pick to kill. He's going to kill both of them in the end, but he gets the attack first, which would have been the better one to stop. Yeah, as Maru's 1-1 finishes, he denies the 1-1 of his opponent, and his Marines just going to stay so threatening in this game. It's just going to make it even more difficult to justify a push into this army of Maru from Oliveira. And Maru, I think, knows he can't really get out of here. The medevac's obviously low, kind of, you know, too many units to lift up anyway. He's just going to try and do what he can over in this side as he has a tech lab, denies combat shield again. Going to try for the tank at the very end. Doesn't have enough damage for that. The tank fire from the low ground was good. This was a lot of damage done, right? I mean, we're talking about tanks that went down, upgrades, combat shield 1-1. None of these will now finish for even longer in this game. These delays are absolutely just magnificent delays to kind of gain as Maru, because now, yeah, you might have given up some supply to do that, but your opponent's supply is now worth so much less than what it was going to be. I mean, Oliveira's not even rebuilding engineering base, so Maru's on his way to being 2-2 versus 0-0. That is not a Marine on Marine fight you want to watch. Like, that's straight up just going to not be pretty. As we do a little bit of microing to get rid of one siege tank here. Oliveira gets a grab. Maru just retreating down the right-hand side with a group of Marines, pulling away for the moment. Let's see. set up over there as well as Liberator Sieges. A couple of tank shots. Heating up right away as we do see tanks moving forward. We get rid of 2 tanks forward. Not even one just yet. The Liberator is going to have to be prioritized though. Marines will give up a couple of their numbers just to make sure that Liberator can't sit there and, just kind of be annoying for a long time. All at once. Those 2 upgrades of Maru about to finish up. I mean, at least Oliveira is finally going to have combat shield, as he does have a massive drop across the map. Well, even just a low number of Marines of Maru here might be able to do okay if they do truly have 2-2 versus 1-1. It's 2-1 versus 0-0. 2-1 versus 0-0, like I say, if you actually get to see these Marines properly fighting each other, the Marines of Oliveira might just die very quickly. Up the ramp is a little bit tough because obviously you can't get enough Marines into the fight, and this is Oliveira causing issues for Maru. Working his way around into a better position. Okay, the ramp was amazing for Oliveira. Like, to be ahead 2-1 upgrades and to kind of lose so many Marines in a Marine versus Marine fight really is a credit to just how good the positioning was. That concave versus the plumped up, run up the ramp move. Oliveira is keeping the supplies kind of competitive, but he's still not mining off of the 3rd base. It's landed in location apparently, but no SCVs on it because Maru's still stopping any transfer from the natural to that left-hand side. Maybe now Maru actually on Sieges backs up. After all of this effort, Oliveira is finally going to find himself a chance to move forward onto the map once more. It's been a while since he's had the option even to do this. Well, Maru is actually going to be filling on the defensive upgrades, for the Marine versus Marine fight. There's a lot of tanks, but not a lot of them were set up straight away, so the Marines diving forward. Going to kill a lot of the tanks. Maru is across the map to initiate the base trade. Like, in a way, I don't hate it, because I do think Maru's Marines are a lot better. But in a way, I'm like, well, is this not a way to give Oliveira a road back in? In the end, Oliveira just... Obviously, they've played a day. I thought they played one more time, which is why I said 3 times. Top left, I believe Terran. Maybe it's the mental game you're trying to play. Hey, you lost a world championship to this guy. Now lose your team, your clan war. In the top left, blue Terran from onside. It is Maru. It's wild to pick the world champ. Yeah, it kind of is, honestly. It kind of is. Especially when you already lost to Maru 0-2 early today. A world champion, bottom right. Oliveira. Color refineries coming through, everything getting going, nothing too crazy just to be starting out. Okay, I really don't know what to expect. Is Oliveira going to macro it up? Is he going to try and, take Maru the distance? Is he going to do something a little bit cheeky? So far, not much of anything, just a barracks each. No second racks from either player either. Almost like it was a one-off. I think it's fair to say that it was a bit of a one-off for Oliveira to win the World Championship, wouldn't you say? I would say. For sure. Reaper on the way on both sides. Factory is coming up from Oliveira. We do have our SCVs producing through and just having the... And racks just coming online. Everything getting set for the moment as we get through these early stages. Just going to be seeing our Reaper continuing to produce as well. So far, so good. Just going to be having this moving up the right-hand side. Again, our Reaper coming through. Just high ground CC versus low ground CC. Maru not quite sure what's going on, so he is just going to be a little bit more safe with the command center positioning. Just making sure of that. And yeah, just we wait and see what's going to happen. For now, it's just very regular TvT opening. Nothing too crazy about this just yet. Just hop up, going to drop a couple grenades down. Oliveira gets the jump on Maru's Reaper, so now it's 2v1. And he can obviously micro to maintain that 2v1 advantage, and not going to be able to do too much else with it. So Maru just loses a Reaper early. The kind of thing that's fairly forgivable in this circumstance. Sometimes you lose your early Reaper and it could be game ending. That's absolutely not going to be the case here, as you can see. As the couple of Reapers in the Hellion come up, just going to hit that reactor a little bit. Depot taking a few shots. The Reaper and the Hellion still coming through. The Reaper taking some extra hits as well. And we still try and pick our way through this reactor for the moment. Reaper on the side does go down. Going to be seeing this orbital flying out down to the low ground, so it's just going to get over to this natural expansion again. A couple extra Marines and a Hellion were all popping. As our Hellions are still moving forward just a little bit. Obviously, we get to the low ground here, and altogether, Maru actually has an army and a slight worker lead, so he's putting that in his favor. Third CC from Oliveira is the sort of thing that eats up a lot of resources that doesn't obviously benefit either of those, so that's kind of part of the reasoning there, as our couple extra Marines still coming out. Marines are there. Hellion gets turned around. Still seeing that cloak coming up. Raven coming out. Hellion is going to get onto the SCV immediately. Just pick that off. Nicely done. And these couple Marines are going to get this Hellion as well. It's just going to pick that off too. We see another tank just going to come out down the low ground. So down we go. Journeying across here for the moment. Right on both sides of the map. The cyclone gets a little lock on over on the edges, and well, everything's kind of evening out, right? Worker count, still a bit of an army supply lead to Maru, but he is behind on the third CC, so that's going to be a slight advantage to Oliveira. And we're kind of in that kind of tug-of-war portion of this TvT. Well, one player will take a lead here, one player will take a lead there. For the moment, it doesn't feel like there's any significant advantage on either side, so we'll see if that changes. Maru is going to come pushing forward, but there's two tanks on the natural, so unless we get up into the main base, maybe there's going to be some options. Cyclone Marines going to jump onto the orbital command here and just going to continue to pick their way through this. Again, Stimpack continues on both sides. Tanks will unsiege from Oliveira. We're going to begin to move forward just a little bit further and push out towards an actual expansion. Oh, the third base expansion, sorry. And Maru just says, cool, time for me to back away, time for me to just pull back slightly. Nothing too crazy needed here. Don't need to push a fight when it's not ready to be taken. He is getting the engineering base as well, so you see Maru investing into 1-1 upgrades, so that's going to be a bit of a difference on the board here as well. Marines, tanks, the Ravens, the Vikings all coming up. A couple of Vikings start to shoot and land onto that command center. Just some damage being dealt. Tanks knocked down one Widow Mine, just going to be seen still. The rest of these units continue to settle together. Locks onto the Raven here just for a moment or two, and we are going to be seeing our Stimpack still coming up on the side of Oliveira, so still bringing that on into play. Oliveira's army heads down towards the bottom right. Raven still chilling out over on the sides. Cyclone with the Marines coming across. Oliveira got kind of punished in that game too early against Maru, by the way, where I felt like he was in a pretty good position. Oh, every Matrix lands. The auto turrets come down on the side of Oliveira, but comparatively, when it comes to Marines, it does feel a bit better for Maru, but as Oliveira lands his units, it's going to be good, and he is going to hold out in the center. This felt like a good fight for Maru, but he just wasn't able to get on top of anything meaningful soon enough, and actually Oliveira comes out of this one looking golden. As I was going to say, it was an earlier game today when Oliveira kind of got punished. He was in a good position and he kind of chased too far forward, and then Maru was able to get a couple of picks and then, retake control of the map, basically. I imagine he would like to probably try and avoid that this time around again. There's another scan, comes out towards the bottom right side. It's coming down, just going to be seeing a few Vikings just off over on the edges. Just going to be seeing 1-1 upgrades, combat shield, all coming through. All of our Vikings continuing to gather together. Engineering base, you see, all on the way up. Just going to be seeing our medevacs loading up, and they're going to come around this top side. Oh, what a lock on. He's going to get a pretty much full medevac. Nice catch from the Cyclone. I mean, first of all, good to nail the drop, and then you get to actually kill the full drop as well. Nice way. I mean, Maru was obviously starting to be a little bit behind the supply, so this is a nice way to step back into it. Maru's also ahead on the 2-2 upgrade, so that's another advantage he can absolutely try to maintain here. Seeing our 2-2 coming up on either side, +1 vehicle weapons as well. Maru a little bit faster on each and every one of those upgrades. See a fourth base a little bit faster though from Oliveira, so Oliveira almost has some of the tech advantage, some of the eco advantages, while Maru has some of the slight tech advantages. But again, it's so close. Marines come over, Cyclone gets shoved away for the moment. Extra barracks coming around. The Vikings are just chilling out overhead. He's going to get some damage done. We're going to go back and forward a little bit here. We are going to see Oliveira getting shoved away just for a moment then. The reactor's still coming through. CC's about halfway up. He's going to see our +3 attack upgrade. Starting from Maru, he's going to look to maintain that upgrade lead for the moment. Skull medevacs is continuing out. 12 Marines in production. Cyclone gets rid of the Sense Tower over on the right side here. We are going to go dropping on the left, though. Maru going to make a bit of a dive forward. He wanted to drop the initial Marines to soak tank fire so the rest of the Marines could come up, but that didn't really work out just yet. The tank's shooting away. Just continues up. We do see +2 vehicle weapons still coming in. A couple extra tanks and Marines all coming down. Marines are going to come forward. One medevac goes down. Tanks go down. Uh-oh. Big wave of Oliveira pushing through here. And as the Marines continue to fight, tanks will get siege. Cyclones get set up as well. Going to be seeing the tanks all getting set once again. Just for a couple of moments. Tanks going through the center. We do get sieged up. We do have our units of Maru just trying to hold this position off. Obviously, Oliveira with the presence on the map currently and the Viking count. So he has a little bit of air control. He's not really utilizing it by kind of going into Liberators or anything, but it's definitely one thing to watch for. Now it's going to be Oliveira to actually lift up his units. He's going to go for a bit of a big play, big drop in towards Maru's bases here. That's going to be the next step of this then, apparently. So, on we go. see what we can do. Maru has his own kind of Marines dropping off, and he's going to have other Marines stepping in. Does he have enough to get through the tanks quickly? That's the important part, right? He needs to get onto these tanks quickly enough that they don't do too much splash, and I think he's done just about that. He is going to get all these tanks, and that's a pretty massive pickoff, really. That is absolutely huge, so knocking that one down. Marines and tanks setting up just outside of this planetary fortress. Standing up, Maru's going to lose a couple of siege tanks himself. Oliveira still on the offensive. Moments away from his own 3-3, which would even out the upgrades for some of these Marine vs. Marine wars. But Maru's got an undefended base over here. Oliveira gets an instant snap kill on that. And a cancel on the base that was right next to it. Now Maru's going to push forward. He's got low HP Marines engaging in, but he does have the upgrade advantage. Oliveira loses a lot of supply, so he takes out a big bit of Maru's economy. He loses out on a huge chunk of his own army. As everything gathers together in the center again, medevacs, Marines, and tanks. A couple of Marines already stemming up. The Marines of Oliveira coming back. Maru continues forward. The tanks coming through. Those few tanks already getting sieged, and I mean, Maru really just has the tank count to keep going forward. Apparently, these Marines of Oliveira are not, I mean, I guess they're buying a little bit of time. Maru just continue to leapfrog the tanks through. We're actually going to be seeing liberators from Oliveira, who maybe realizes that if Maru isn't high on the Marine count, he may not be able to answer that. There's just no way you can fight these tanks when they're sieged, and Oliveira, if he's trying to buy time, sure, but he is bleeding out units, so you better be buying time for something good at the end of the day. Marines come up on either side, a couple of Vikings and tanks continuing through. The Ravens continue to build. Liberator will siege. You're going to push these siege tanks further back, so they're going to get shoved straight on out of here. Medevacs out down to the south, and just going to be having ourselves a couple of Ravens, plus 3 vehicle weapons. All that good stuff still continuing in. As our Liberator siege is good to grab a siege tank there as well. Medevacs load up those Marines. Off to the sides we go. We do go pushing forward. Oliveira. Marines, tanks, medevacs, all coming forward for the moment here as our tanks will siege. Oliveira is going to take a couple of shots initially, but then I don't know if Maru's protecting his tanks well enough. Now Oliveira is going to be able to siege up with more tanks. A couple matrices land, but only 2. And the tank count of Maru in the center is going to fall down. Now he's got Marines on the bottom side of this fight as well, but they're not going to do enough. Thanks to Oliveira, unsiege again, and we continue to push up to the upper left-hand side. Maru tries to get more tanks in position. Oliveira still sitting with a couple of libs. He doesn't have the Viking count, though. He's working on that now. He's going to deny this location of Maru. Maru, who's mining bottom left there, is currently being denied, I believe, by those Liberators. A couple of Vikings had to split off to go deal with that. So that's where the libs are being kept busy. And that's Maru's biggest issue, is that Oliveira has base after base after base at the moment. Oliveira, man. I mean, what a statement. To lose 0-2 to Maru earlier. You know, we've started to kind of build a narrative that, man, you know, what happened in Katowice seems to really be more of a fluke. You know, especially when it came to Maru versus Oliveira specifically. But, yeah, this is Oliveira, I think, saying, no, give me my chance. Give me one more go. I'm not going to let this guy keep on beating me. And, I mean, it's not done yet, but it's an extremely close game, and I do much prefer it for Oliveira as he knocks down another base in the bottom corner. Onside Gaming might be on their way to the first loss of the season, and that is absolutely huge for the standings. Because again, what could happen from this is if Onside lose this match, they can be caught and potentially, depending on map score, overtaken by Basilisk this week for the first place position. Liberator sieges, tanks begin to go down. Maru's losing a lot of army. His Liberator is kind of clutch, but he's not going to be able to save this base, is he? And he doesn't have the economy to keep on losing bases like this, so he's kind of forced to fight. The Marines are going to run forward. The tanks do get sieges. That a good enough call from Oliveira. He's getting a lot of the tanks of Maru. The Liberator sieges up during this. The base already went down. The SCVs are dropping. Maru has got an army supply lead, and he's got Vikings to chase the medevacs. He's got units chasing the tanks. Maru is going to have a massive counterattack with a huge amount of units compared to Oliveira, because Oliveira just lost everything on this push. Okay, Oliveira in full retreat mode. 40 army supply down. It's down to this. Maru must go right now. He must commit. He has to send it. He's lost too many bases, too much economy. Maru is good enough to know that. He knows there is no chilling out here. He knows there's no slowing this down or whatever else. He knows that right now this is a full send situation, and he's going to try and do exactly that. Liberator Siege is up. Marines will get rid of that quickly. Vikings picking their way through Medivacs. This is it. Maru dives forward. Does he have enough? His own tanks aren't in range. The tanks of Oliveira are holding pretty strong. The advantage that Maru had, gone. Wiped out. Oliveira counterattacks through, pushes him back, and wins it for Dragon Kaiser Gaming. We called it an odd choice for the ace match, but it was the right one, as Dragon Kaiser get the win in 7 over Onside Gaming. Maru falls.